What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Yanks of the Cop. We are here, our special episode, Premier League Team of the Season. Today, I am your host, Steve. Andrew will be joining us. Wahomie and Sophie are off tonight. But for a fun episode, we had to bring on two of our favorite, now recurring guests. We got Luke from 1892 Podcast, and as always, we got Dave from Dave's LFC Chats. Luke, start with you, man. How are you doing tonight? Tough match for England.
Steve, thanks for letting me come on, mate. How you doing, Dave? Hope you're doing well. I'm all good, mate. But obviously, England's just frustrating to watch. After the back end of a good result against Croatia, and then you play against, you call it England, Scotland, you call it Man United, Liverpool, if you think of it, sort of thing. And you play two defensive midfielders at home. It's just embarrassing. But it is what it is. Just obviously now looking forward to this show now.
Yeah, hopefully we'll try to create the mood a little bit. Let's have a little bit of fun today. But Dave, you always bring a smile. How are you doing today, man?
I'll tell you what, I'm absolutely great. I haven't done a huge amount of live shows since Liverpool, actually, since we, finished touring the league and stuff. I've done a few videos, but not as much. I'm giving me voice arrest because my voice is so, I have to keep it right. But I watched that game. It was a good game. It actually was a very good game. Scotland played really, really well. They could have nicked it, and you couldn't have said much about it. I think a draw probably was the correct results over the whole game. Very disappointing in England, though. I can't see them winning it. I said at the start of the tournament, I just can't see. I think the likes of Belgium for a start, France, these type teams are ahead of them. You never know, though. You never know. It's a derby. That was a derby game tonight. You know what I mean?
It's important for us to win. It's important for us to win the group, because if we come second, then we're going to get France and get knocked out.
Well, that's right. That's the tough. Yeah.
Czech Republic's going to be a tough game on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think either way, though. I think either way with you, because if you come in second, who do you play if you come in second? Because don't you look at France or Portugal, or something like that?
If we come second in our group, then we'll
either or. It doesn't really matter. So, you know what I mean? Portugal will be a nightmare as well.
I think Portugal's is outstanding. I know how they looked in the first match, but I looked at that lineup and I had to do a double take. I was like, I forgot how good that team is. I think they're kind of flying under the radar for a team that could potentially repeat because of that group that they're in. It's gonna be crazy though. It's gonna be a really interesting knockout stage when it gets to that. And like you said, Dave, anything can happen. You play one bad match and everything crumbles at that point. So, but I will say two things about the Euros before we dive into the Premier League Team of the Season here. Number one, I think we're really seeing how incompetent the officiating is in England, because I think it took until today to get a bad call, in my opinion, in the first match. That the penalty, that was really the first bad call I've seen the entire tournament, and I feel like every weekend we talk about a bad call in England. But number two, man, international soccer is awesome, but it's not club soccer, man. Or football, excuse me. There's my American coming out. But yeah, I'm telling you, it's just not the same. It makes me miss Liverpool. Can't wait for the preseason to start up. It's going to be awesome. Awesome year for us. But all right, Andrew's going to be joining momentarily, but I think we should kick off without him. I've been dying to dive into this. I know the PFA Premier League Team of the Year has already come out, all that stuff. But hey, sometimes they're wrong. I like our opinions a lot more. So let's dive right into it. Let's start with the goalkeeper. I think we can all agree there's a number of players that could be potentially the goalkeeper for the season. But Dave, I want to start with you. Who are some guys that you would potentially fill into that spot? Maybe put out a couple, honorable mentions. We'll say, and ultimately, who do you give the nod to because of their season?
So will I say who I'm giving the goalkeeping spot last? Is that what you want?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, listen. There's 3 or 4 outstanding keepers in the Premier League. We all know who they are at the end of the day. Obviously, you've got the 2 Brazilians. We've our own Alisson Becker, and you've got Ederson at City. Alisson's the number 1 at Brazil for a reason. Everybody said Ederson is a better goalkeeper, but Alisson is the number 1. Is Brazil's number 1. So there's the answer there, isn't it? I was going to say Pickford to get the bronze medal for small arms, but you know what I mean. There's no chance. No. Listen, I'm going to go straight into it. It's Alisson Becker for me, and I'll give you the reasons. Not only because I'm a Liverpool fan, it's not only because he's the Liverpool goalkeeper. There's a few reasons behind it. It's the season that we've just had. It's that goal that he got against West Brom. Now, let's be real. We've got a goalkeeper that scores goals. I mean, that's just unheard of. His father passed away, by the way, earlier in the year. There's mentality. There's just everything that went in. I know he's a religious man. He really is. His whole family are. And I think that probably helped him. He's spiritual anyway. And I just think as a goalkeeper, he does make mistakes. But to be honest, every goalkeeper makes mistakes. That's the game. It just shows up worse for you if you're a keeper, because usually it ends up in a goal against. If you make a mistake, you're in that position. But for me, it's Alisson Becker. As I said, he gets the goal. He's had tragedy. We've had a crazy, crazy season. He's had more centre halves chopping and changing in front of him, than probably 3 or 4 seasons in a row in one season. He had an injury. He came back. There's been so many things. And I mean, just to finish, we had in the season, which we can all talk about, the last 10 games, 8 wins, 2 draws. That goal against West Brom, it'll be talked for forever. And I just think Alisson Becker's in goal for the Premier League for me. Just simple as that.
I don't hate it. I think you made a couple of good points there. I mean, I think purely based off of ability, I'd agree with you. And especially everything he had to overcome is a very good point. I mean, who are some of the names that came to mind for you, and ultimately who are you going with for goalkeeper Premier League team of the year?
I mean, as Dave said, I think straight away you're going to look at Ederson because winning the league. I think didn't he win the Golden Glove again last season as well? Alisson scoring goals. I mean, it sums up there. I mean, your goalkeeper scoring a goal. I mean, that's just, it says in itself. But I would love to put Alisson there, but for me, I think overall, throughout the whole season, I think the best goalkeeper has probably been Martinez at Aston Villa. I believe that he's been one of the signings of the season. Aston Villa leaked a lot of goals, in their first season back. They just about survived relegation. And they needed someone to come in with a safe set of hands. Martinez had just won the FA Cup with Arsenal the season before. I think, he made a statement as well. Like, I think one of the big statements he made was he's gone to Aston Villa for a step up. And a lot of people, sort of laughed at him, saying, you're going to Aston Villa. All right, he's going to get first team football, but Arsenal were a better club. They're a bigger club. And to be honest, he weren't far wrong. He's had an excellent season at Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And I do think that, there's so many teams that have individual players that have just been exceptional. I mean, for example, like we say about Aston Villa, we know how good someone like Jack Grealish is. He's going to have a mention, in certain teams. But for me, for my goalkeeper, as much as I would love our goal scoring hero Alisson in there, I've unfortunately put Martinez as my goalkeeper of the season.
Yeah, it's a great shout. That's a great shout. I mean, I on my list I had Martinez as well, just because I think when you look at individual impact for the team, I think like you said, I don't think Aston Villa has a season that they had without Martinez in net. And I think that a team like Arsenal are definitely kicking themselves letting him go and keeping a guy like Leno instead. Look at their season last year, and it's very clear that they made a mistake with that. But the other guy I feel like we got to just at least point out on this show would be Mendy from Chelsea, because obviously we know how bad Kepa was for them, all the mistakes that he made. And Mendy and his whole career and him as of late, that's an amazing story as well. Just the rise that he's had and the impact that he's had over there.
Yeah.
That being said, he definitely wasn't. I wouldn't say he's the best goalie, but I think the impact that he had for Chelsea was huge, and I think they made that push because he was in between the sticks. But overall, like in the chat says and what Luke says, I'm going to give the nod to Martinez. I think he did well. And just stick in the chat for a second, J-Dog, we do appreciate you back. I know you're psyched about Scotland getting the draw. And Chris Welch, as always, you're the man. We always appreciate you having in here. I think he's in all of our channels, and he's the absolute man. We appreciate you, Chris. So, all right, let's go over to right back. And Luke, I want to start with you on this. So playing the 4-3-3 formation. Who do you got as your right back for team of the season?
Again, it's a difficult position. Some honourable mentions. I mean, Trent's done. He's not had the best of seasons, of course, as Liverpool haven't. But again, individually, he's done well with the different partnerships at centre back he's had to work with. Reece James has had a good season at Chelsea. But I've gone for Vladimir Kufal at West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
For 5 million West Ham paid for him, and they've got into the Europa League. Again, another one of those players, as we mentioned about Martinez. He's been so pivotal to West Ham's success this season defensively. He's always, capable of going forward. I mean, you've seen him for Czech Republic in the Euros as well. He's doing a good job for them as well. He looks a steady, no nonsense defender, and he offers everything. He can go forward, he can defend, and as I mentioned before, for 5 million. There's we see magic. We see all right, Liverpool and Chelsea aside from their youth academy, but you've seen, the stupid neighbours near us, Man United, paying 50 million for Wan-Bissaka. There's all different, players that are being signed for different amounts of money. But for me, I think for that, as Dave said, a snip, for 5 million, for me, Kufal is my right back.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think, Dave?
I'm actually going to go the same because, obviously an honourable mention to Trent because this season has been so crazy and he actually came good in the end. Class just comes to the top. The cream rises to the top with Trent, and I think Trent's going to have a great season next season because he's come through that madness of just everything going wrong and, everything at home, everything. And I think Trent will be brilliant for us next season. But Kufal, West Ham have had an unbelievable season, haven't they? You could mention a few players off West Ham, to be fair. But, for that price, well, I think was it closer to 6 million? But anyway, it doesn't really matter. As you say, it's a snip. 5-6 million. What the hell is that nowadays? It's absolutely nothing. Czech international. And to be honest, I'll go checkmate with you on that one because I'll agree with Kufal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, Kufal.
I'll go with that. Yep.
Yeah, he had an unbelievable season. He'd probably be my nod as well, but just for the sake of talking about some other people, Trent got so much slack this year, and the scary thing is I thought he played fantastically defensively. It was just he wasn't the same going forwards, and you can say so many different things: the injuries, having to play more defensive because of those. But he still, I think, led the all defenders and assists again, still quietly, but defensively, I thought he was outstanding, especially the second half of the season. I thought he did great. The first time he was left out of the England squad, he came back and answered it incredibly well. So I do want to give him a shout. Obviously, Reece James had a decent season, but there were times when Azpilicueta was playing over him. He didn't even start every game consistently. But honestly, I think for the sake of being different, although I think Kufal was amazing, I'm going to put Cancelo in for me, just because he played on both sides for Man City, and I thought other than Kufal, he might have been the most consistent fullback this season. He didn't matter what side he played on. He can use his left, he can use his right. Didn't matter who he was next to, Diaz or Stones. He played great every time for them. And finally, Pep got something right with fullbacks with all the 200 million that he spent on fullbacks. 40 million on him finally goes through right. But I thought Cancelo was a very, very solid player this year. So for me, I'm going to give him the nod slightly over Kufal. But I'm really, really interested to get into the center backs because I think the center backs may have a few differences here. So I think we can all agree, Ruben Diaz would probably be one of them. He had a great season. But for me, the two guys that I was kind of bouncing back and forth with is I was looking at either Fofana from Leicester, because I thought maybe his little coming out party this year. I thought he did fantastic, and Konsa as well. Konsa played out of this world, in my opinion, at center back. For me, I'm gonna go with Fofana myself. I thought he was very consistent. Young French kid there did absolutely fantastic for me. So I'm really interested to hear who you guys have instead of Fofana in there. Go ahead, Dave. You look excited.
I'm going to put Van Dijk there, and he didn't even play.
Love that.
But I'll tell you. Well, obviously Ruben Diaz has to go in there. I mean, player of the year and everything, and City, wiped domestic floor basically. He just transformed them. It just shows. We know what happened a few years ago at City when they lost their centre half and they didn't have a good season. We know what happened at Liverpool this season. And when we lost our centre half, so when they have Ruben Diaz stepping up to play, he's in there. We don't even need to say much more about that. But the guy I'm going to put beside him is Leicester City's Sancho. The Leicester City Turkish international. I think he's a proper player. I really do. I know they won the FA Cup. I think they should have got top 4, really. I really do think they should have got top 4. But that would have cemented them, to be fair. But I like Sancho. I really do. I think he's a top centre half. He doesn't get a lot of said about him. I was watching him even for Turkey. He's getting some blocks in. He's a big lad. He's pacey. I like Sancho. So Sancho and Diaz for me.
Interesting. So we have 2 Leicester center backs in there, and we both have a different one. I like that.
Yeah.
So Luke, who do you got?
I'm not going to go with a Leicester player, unfortunately. I'm not going to give it a full house. I mean, as you mentioned, Steve, just quickly, I mean, the youngsters that Leicester have got coming through are just, amazing. And it looks like they're going to get the Paston Daka deal as well, which is quite bad for us.
Yeah. Great deal for them.
So they're youngsters coming through. But I'm going to sound a little bit biased. I have to put Nat Phillips in there.
I knew he was going to say it. I knew it.
We've been, me and Ricky on our podcast have been praising Nat Phillips, since he's come into the fold. I know he's not played the whole season. He's played, half a season.
Yeah.
But what he's done for this team, it's just staggering. We've got top 4 with Nat Phillips and Reece Williams at centre back. It just goes to show how 21 different centre back partnerships this season. There's more centre back partnerships than teams. I mean, Nat Phillips surely deserves a great mention. To be up there as one of the best centre backs this season in the Premier League. So, for pure biasness and pure love for Liverpool, Nat Phillips goes alongside Ruben Diaz.
You get one honorary bias in this bloody game, don't you? One honorary bias. You were slagging me over Alisson. I will give Nat Phillips the Golden Head Brick Award, though. I mean, that guy was unbelievable, and he's one of the 3 or 4 reasons we got top 4.
Did I just walk into Nat Phillips being crowned as a center back team of the season?
Yes, you did. Welcome in.
Well, Luke did.
Yes, love it.
I'd have him on the bench.
We'll give it to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Andrew, welcome in. We did our goalkeepers, right back, and our 2 center backs. So, do you want to quickly provide who you got at those positions? Get you up to speed here.
Yeah. Who did you guys have?
So
I'll just give mine real quick. I had Martinez as the keeper for Aston Villa. I thought he was one of the reasons why they had such a great start to the year. Unfortunately, towards the end of the year, they lost Jackie Grealish, and that's why they kind of fell towards mid-table. But I think next year they're going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure, especially with him still in net. Did you go right back or left back?
Right back.
You went right back? Right back, I'd probably go Cancelo. You can't go with anybody else. You have to go with Cancelo. He was absolutely phenomenal. I thought he was the best defender this year besides Ruben Diaz. He was one of the main reasons why City were so successful in their title challenge this year and ultimately winning the title. And I think he's going to be he has a big case to be a player of the tournament for Portugal as well. But center back, Ruben Diaz has to be it. Definitely has to be Ruben Diaz. We've said enough about him, I'm sure. But I think Fofana from Leicester was. Who else chose Fofana?
You have the same exact thing as I do so far.
Yeah.
2 Scalons think alike, I guess. But So that's my team of the year so far.
So you and I have the same. They went with Kufal at right back, which I 100% like that shout from West Ham at right back. Dave went with Soyuncu at the other center back spot. And then he also went with Alisson in net. Luke went with Martinez in net as well.
Yeah. Alisson. You gave it to Alisson?
He gave it to Allison. And Luke
and we're allowed one bias pick.
That's it. It's gone. It's gone.
Okay, that's it. I'll give you that one. Okay.
All right, so let's get to left backs. Andrew, we'll start with you on this. I got a feeling we may have some consistency on this one as a whole here. But who do you got at left back, team of the season? Who else did you consider at the spot as well?
It has to be Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw was the best left back in the Premier League, maybe even in the world this year. He was absolutely phenomenal. I thought he was Manchester United's best player. A lot of people were giving it to Fernandez or even Rashford, which I don't understand at all. But Luke Shaw, did he start today for England? I missed the game.
He had a poor game tonight.
Did he really?
Tonight. Very poor tonight.
Maybe he needs Ollie behind him. I don't know. But he was phenomenal last year. And especially, I've never really minded Luke Shaw. He's always been a consistent player when he's been available, but he's had a touch of the injury bug in the past. He's always seems to go out with a little limp or a bruise or a hamstring or something like that. So it was good to see him, unfortunately for United this year, but good to see him back on the pitch. Yeah. And clearly he played really, really well in my eyes. The only one I think could even come close to him would be I don't think Robertson gets a sniff at this one at all. He was,
no.
He played a lot of games this year, and he was just Mr. Robinson was tough. His distributions weren't nearly as good as they were in past seasons, obviously, with the amount of assists that he got last year. But this season, he was ever present for us, maybe a little too much so. When we can get to Jurgen Klopp in a little bit, but I think the only one who really gets close to Luke Shaw is Ben Chilwell. And I was pretty skeptical about his move to Chelsea for that amount of money. I didn't think he was worth it. I still don't know if he's really worth it. But, I thought he had a solid year, too. So I'm going Luke Shaw left back.
I think we're all going to agree on this one. Go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke Shaw, I think it was that was a straight on one, that. But, he got some stick in his early career. He went for big money from Southampton, I remember at the time, and everybody was going, he's no good, he had a lot of weight on him and stuff. People are saying he was too heavy even on the pitch. And just really, I think United were going to get rid of him at one stage. But he was, and he has just come good. Now, he had a poor game tonight for England, but we're not talking about England, we're talking about the Premier League, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, he has come on leaps and bounds, and have to get fair play to him for sticking at it, wasn't it? He was at one stage, I don't know what he was going to do. He was getting some stick off his own fans 2 years ago, and then he just put his head down and went for it. So fair play.
He's had a couple of setbacks, hasn't he? He had that massive injury in the Champions League game a few years ago. Obviously, the weight gain, that he had with Mourinho's obviously giving him a lot of stick. Yeah. And obviously, as you said, Dave, I think the fans have gotten him, and it's difficult for a player to, especially especially your own fans, and especially in the Premier League as an English player. If you've got this hype coming through, like you're going to be the next big thing at left back. Because let's be real, when he was coming through at Southampton, it was sort of when Ashley Cole was coming to the end of his career. So he was like the next one to come through and say, right, he's the next Ashley Cole. It's big shoes to fill. And no, fair play to him, as much as we don't like saying it, of course, as Liverpool fans. He has definitely been the best left back this season by a country mile.
And when you think about it too, to start the season, Man United fans were buzzing when they brought in Alex Telles, and people thought there was going to be a competition at that spot to start the season. And right away, maybe that was the kick in the butt he needed, because he in a hell of a performance this year. That's for sure. So, all right. So defense is done. The one kind of going back quickly to center back, the one other player I just wanted to bring up, because I think if we stopped the season at the first half of the season, Vestergaard from Southampton, I thought he started the season phenomenally. But then obviously the Southampton game completely fell off.
You know what I mean?
As soon as they beat us, wasn't it? They beat us 1-0.
They beat us.
And just went downhill.
Their manager.
You see his name. You see his name on the Premier League, and it's
That's exactly it. Man, but yeah, and everyone in the chat, let us know who your defense is. We'll definitely share it, talk about it. And if you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. Check out Dave LFC's chats. Check out 1892 podcast as well. They do great work. But going over to the midfield, starting in that number 6 role, Luke, why don't you kick us off? in my opinion, there's a few different guys I had written down here. I think there might be some consistency between us with who gets the number 6 spot. But why don't you go ahead and start us off?
I think Andrew's hoping I say Wijnaldum, to be honest. I'm
not going to say Wijnaldum.
Just to clear of, for Wijnaldum, I think he's been an excellent servant for Liverpool. So, good luck to him in his career. There's me and Ricky have great debates, of course. So,
cheers.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he doesn't make my team this season. It's a tough one because it's very, very tough. And I think just going on sort of back end of this season, last 10 to 15 games, I think he's just been one of the main reasons why Chelsea are where they are. You've got to put N'Golo Kante in that team.
Yeah.
He is just exceptional. I mean, we've heard it all before, haven't we? The 70% of the world's covered by water and the rest is Kante. Like, it's just he's just incredible. Like, you watch him the other night. Obviously, I know it wasn't a league game, but he does it every single game he plays. He just covers every bit of ground. He can go forward. He can defend. He can do everything you want. He's a manager's dream to have in your team. And by far, I think Kante gets into my team for the season. Brilliant player.
I would say about Kante, I don't think he started the season well because I don't think Frank was using him in the right way.
Yeah.
I think once Tuchel came in, then you saw a change in their style in midfield, and you really saw Kante flourish from that, and that's why I think they went so far in the Champions League. I mean, every single game, Kante, like you said, was performing out of his mind, and we've just come to expect that. So it was surprising when he wasn't performing to that level in the beginning of the season, in my opinion. But no, I completely agree with you otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, Frank. The problem with Frank and Chelsea was he tinkered way too much. They had no identity. He kept changing the formation. He kept changing players' positions. No one knew what. Like, if you ask, you can even ask a Chelsea fan what their identity was under Lampard, and nobody would be able to tell you anything because it was changing all the time. That's why Tuchel came in, 3-5-2-1, whatever it was, boom, perfect. 3-5-2, boom, all set, all done. So. I think that was the big thing for them. But Dave, who you got?
Oh, look, it's Kante. I think Kante should have been nearly player of the year. I know Ruben Diaz got it, but Kante has been unbelievable. Everywhere he's been, look at where he's been and what he's done where he's been. Like, the Leicester won the league. He was the main man in Leicester. He was the reason Leicester won the bloody league. That year. Everywhere he's went, they've done something or someone's done something. You know what I mean? So Kante be the fourth. I'd say he's the first name on Chelsea's team sheet.
Do you think?
With Tuchel, he's unbelievable.
Do you think he goes up for Ballon d'Or this year? If he wins the Euros for France, do you think he's up there?
Maybe, but they don't usually. They don't like They like giving it to flair players. They like giving it to players who score goals because they like giving it to players that make you stand up. Or make you, that's what it's all about, unfortunately. He should be in the reckoning and he should be in talking about it. I'm sure he probably is. But whether he gets or not, I don't think so. But you know what? Here's the thing about him. The heat maps are rectangles, like the screen we're watching here. Kante's heat map is a red rectangle. It's basically the whole bloody rectangle's red. There's no even gaps. You know what I mean? So, I mean, he's all over the shop. He's a Red Bull boy, drinking 6 packs of Red Bull before every game. Energy on the. He should be in that. What's that? Do you remember that 80s battery ad? What was it called again? Was it Ever Ready? No, that's even 70s probably. I'm going back. Duracell. Kante Duracell boy. Duracell boy. Goes forever. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
You got Andrew.
I mean, with Kante, just to answer Luke's question, I think Kante makes the top 10, maybe even top 5 for Ballon d'Or. I don't know if he makes the top 3 though. I don't know. It's a really good question.
That's a different podcast, isn't it?
It's a different, I think Kante had it. Like I said, I think Kante had a great second half of the year. But I thought somebody who was phenomenal all year, and one of the reasons why I hate doing this because he's another City player, but Ilkay Gundogan I thought was absolutely immense. Basically in that like middle part of the season, when there's a lot of fixtures going on, City were always kind of looking for a goal. They were dominating matches, but they weren't putting it in the back of the net. And all of a sudden, Ilkay Gundogan pops up with a goal or two, and they win the game like 3-0. So it was just, I thought he was I thought he should have been in the running for Player of the Year over De Bruyne. I think De Bruyne had a good end to the season as well, but I thought Gundogan carried City's midfield for a good portion of the year. So I think Gundogan needs to make it in there.
All right, so I'm tempted to go with my bias pick here and put in Fabinho, just because when he played in the 6th role, he played absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
I think just because I was gonna give Gundogan a shout out because, again, like you said, Andrew, I thought he did great. You guys both picked Conte, and I think he's a good shout too. But I think the one glaring name that we're missing right now, the West Ham number 6, Souček.
Yeah.
He was lights out for West Ham.
Unbelievable.
I think another guy that you could say they would not have finished in a Europa League spot if he wasn't having the season that he had this year. So for me, he gets a nod for my number 6 for West Ham because you guys had Kufel in there. I'm gonna have Souček in there.
I like it.
So I don't know how you guys want to split up the midfield. These next 2 midfielders, if you want to do an 8 and a 10, however you want to describe it.
I think you just choose whoever you think is it. You're choosing your top 3 midfielders. So I think you just choose whoever. I think right here we each give 2. Now we just finish up the midfield for each of us.
I like it. So Dave, why don't you start us off this time?
Do you know what? This is actually tough. But I mean, you have to have De Bruyne in there. I mean, I don't know whether you watched the goal the other night you get from Belgium. He came on and changed the game. And actually, the commentators were actually saying he's going to come on and change the game because they need to 1-0 down. Came on, made a goal, then scored a bloody goal. Could have had a second actually, but this guy is just ridiculous. At the end of the day, it's just wow. He is definitely he's in there. There's no doubt about it. He is absolutely in there. The next one is a bit awkward, to be honest. I don't really. There's a few names. I mean, I don't know what ways you want to play it. It doesn't really matter who you I mean, even if I mentioned I have De Bruyne there, and then you say you might throw in someone like Jack Grealish, but I don't think he's done. I know everyone's raving about him, but I don't think he's done enough. I don't know. You know what I mean? He's been injured.
He missed a bunch.
He's been injured. I would have liked to throw him in because I think he's going to be probably the next thing. I don't think Villa can keep a hold of him. To be fair, I don't think they're big enough to keep a hold of him. I really don't. They're a big club at Villa. Don't get me wrong, but they're not in Champions League level. I think is where he wants to go, and he actually played for Ireland's under-21s. By the way, I don't know whether you know that. And Declan Rice, the 2 of them. But Declan Rice was like fried rice today. He was brutal.
He betrayed the Irish.
Basmati rice.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I had Jack Grealish's names down, but just now you're saying he hasn't played enough to probably get in. Yeah. I don't know what to do. I might keep him in. I do like that young lad off City, Foden. I don't have too many City players in. I just, I have De Bruyne in there already. So it's Grealish or Foden. Foden played a lot more games and he is a young lad. This guy is going to be different class. This guy's going to be De Bruyne class, actually. He's going to be that level, I think. You want to get his hair, you want to dye his hair properly, though. Get a proper haircut. Get a proper bleeding haircut. And I might get you in the team. Listen, I'm going to go Foden for the fact that he's young. He made scored big goals for City. He's been unbelievable. Grealish would have got in, except he didn't play enough games. So I'll go Foden and De Bruyne, actually. It kills me, but pure class.
I'll agree with one of those. I have too many City players in here, but for my own liking. But you got to put Kevin De Bruyne in. He was another phenomenal season for him, and we're seeing it again with Belgium. But we can say what we want about Kevin De Bruyne, but he's probably the closest offensive player to Steven Gerrard I think we've seen in a long time. But and he was a Steven Gerrard fan, which is great. That's why I do like Kevin De Bruyne. But the other one, another young player, I think needs to make it into the midfield is Mason Mount. I think Mason Mount for Chelsea, and it pains me again to have two. Actually, no. Who else did I choose? Oh, I chose Gundogan. But it pains me to have a Chelsea player in there. But Mason Mount is just a phenomenal young player. Did he get on the team today? I don't think he did, right?
Yeah, he did.
He did play today.
I think he was probably
one of England's best players. Actually,
bunch, yeah.
Do you know what? That guy Gilmore, who plays for Chelsea, who can't get it, he actually rang the bloody midfield for Scotland.
Best midfielder he was.
What a player! What a player!
Yeah. He ran it against us too. Remember?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
The show.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been so impressed by Mason Mount. I mean, his drive forward, his passing ability. He pops up for a goal. He just has it all for me. And, he's kind of like that drive that we used to see. He's like that drive for Chelsea's, in the midfield. So I just think that what is he, 21, 22? He has such a great future ahead of him. If he can stay fit, stay healthy, injury free, I mean, Chelsea are in a really, really good position if they keep him in the midfield. So I think Mason Mount for me definitely makes it in there.
Yeah.
Who do you got, Luke?
I think De Bruyne speaks for itself. We know how good he is. As Andrew said, I think we've not seen a person like De Bruyne that's able to pass and shoot like a Gerrard type sort of player. He is that sort of level of ability. De Bruyne gets in any team in world football. It's just running out of words to say about him. I think De Bruyne definitely gets in there. And I was the other midfield player. I was thinking it was either Gundogan or Mount. I was just trying to think of who. I think.
Keep coming, Luke. Keep coming.
Yeah. It's such a tough one, because Mason Mount, he's been heavily criticised. When he was like Lampard's, like he was like the Lampard's pet. Then now you got Southgate's like is his pet, for example. It's like you're thinking, why does he get in the team? But you can clearly see why he plays for Chelsea. You can clearly see why he's in the England setup. But with Ilkay Gundogan, I just feel that, Man City didn't really have a centre forward last season at all. Aguero weren't at the full heights. Jesus wasn't, firing all cylinders. So, of course, it's, the reason why I think Gundogan gets a mention is, he picked up so many goals last season. He was so pivotal to, Man City's success. I'm just going to put Gundogan in there. And I think the only other reason why I'm going to put him in there is going to sound bizarre. But that goal he scored against Spurs and he made Davinson Sanchez do that face plant. Yeah. When you do, I know it sounds a bit silly, but it was funny enough seeing that against Spurs. But just him as all round this season has carried Man City for at least half the season, And as much as I'd love to put Mason Mount in there, I think Gundogan just edges it for me.
So you have Conte, Gundogan, and KDB.
Yep.
Yeah, honestly, I think Luke's assessment nailed it on the head for me, because this was really the only spot where I could not decide if I wanted to go Gundogan or Mason Mount. But I just think for me, Gundogan, his 13 goals, most of them were in big matches for them. And they were instrumental goals. Obviously, Mason Mount was instrumental for Chelsea's Champions League run and all of that. But like Dave said, Conte was probably the first name on the sheet. But, City was, when we were in first place, City was down in like 4th, 5th, 6th place, something like that. And all of a sudden, Gundogan comes in, got a spot, and then never let go of it. So I'm going to give him the nod along with KDB. I think KDB is the best midfielder we've seen in the Premier League since Gerrard, in my opinion. Yaya Toure is up there too, but just KDB is
top level.
I love that nobody gave Bruno Fernandes a shout.
Take away his penalties.
Yeah, Bruno Fernandes.
There's honestly just too many games when he just doesn't do anything. Like
in the big games, he doesn't turn up in the big games.
He's just invisible. And granted, you need to go.
He's a good player. He's a good player. I'll give him that. I'll give him that.
You need a go-to penalty kick taker. You need that stuff. But in my opinion, I think Cavani had more of an impact for Man United. Rashford showed moments this year for them. I don't know.
We mentioned about Luke Shaw as well. How defensively they've been more organised this year. And and unfortunately, the game's not played over 12 yards. It's played over about 100 yards, So,
good point. All right, so let's start with left wing. I want to start with left wing on this one. So, Andrew, why don't you kick us off, because left wing is going to be tough in my opinion. I think there's a couple people who could go in there.
I think left wing. I think it has to be. There's only two options for me. It's either Heung-min Son or Phil Foden for me, and I think that. I'm going to put Phil Foden as a winger. I don't. He just kind of floats He floats pretty much everywhere. But I'm going to put him as a wing. I know Dave had him as a midfielder. But I think Sonny was instrumental in Spurs, first half of the season. But Foden was just immense throughout, and he put a lot of respect to his name this year, in my opinion. I thought he really took it to the next level. It was because of him that Riyad Mahrez and Raheem Sterling were constantly rotated. You saw Foden constantly making the team sheet. Pep Guardiola using a 21-year-old kid over experience like Raheem Sterling and Riyad Mahrez. So I think I have to give it to Foden. I think Foden has to make this team. And if it's not going to be in midfield, it has to be on the wing.
Yeah, I understand the Foden shout. I'm going Son though. Sonny to have 27 goal contributions, fantastic season for him. Like 10 assists, 17 goals in the Premier League alone. I thought fantastic, fantastic. And when you think about it, he played more games than Foden too. Like I think 8 more games than Foden did. So I'm gonna give Sonny the nod. What do you got, Luke?
Go, Lukey.
Yeah, it's between those two, but I agree with you, Steve. I'm going to go with Son.
Damn it, Luke.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I thought
you had a good run.
I just think, we've seen the record this season, haven't we? Is it Kane and Son have got the most goal contributions in the Premier League?
Yeah.
You got to take credit. I mean, he's just an exceptional player, Heung-min Son. I always remember the goal we scored against us at Anfield early on in the season. I know it was a big mistake from us, but the timing of the run, everything about him, his pace. He's able to time the run well, and the finish against a world-class goalkeeper in Addison that night. So yes, but I mean, apart from that, it's just just exceptional for me. I think Son makes it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, the thing is, I Foden in midfield, so I have Son. I have the 3 here, and Son is up there because he's actually a player I'd love at Liverpool. I think he'd be brilliant at Liverpool. He's got pace. He's electric. He always seems to make the right bloody decision. He always seems to make the right. And anytime the ball's at his feet, you just don't know what he's going to do. He usually scores. If you know what I mean. But I like this player. I've liked him for a few years now. And he even ahead of Kane. I'd love him at Liverpool. I really would. I just think he'd suit us a lot more. He's a hard worker. He's energy. He's a Klopp type player, and I have to have it. He is in there. Him and Foden. Foden's in midfield and Son's up front. Beautiful, baby.
Scary. I mean, I think
it gets scarier. Go on.
Quick question: do you guys know the stat between Son and Kane's goal contributions this year and Sturridge and Suarez in 13-14?
Jesus.
Is it close? Because I know I thought that they had the record.
I think it's overall. I think Kane and Son have it in Premier League history. Okay. But I think over a season, I think you might be right. It could be Sturridge and Suarez could be over a season.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
Kane and Son are throughout their careers.
Yeah.
Partnership. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, because Sturridge and Suarez that year were.
I'll always remember. I think we played Sunderland. It was one of Suarez's first games back after his suspension, and we played Sunderland. We think we beat them like 2-0, and we played in the old purple and white kit. I remember that. I loved that away.
I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Steven Gerrard did an interview after the game, and they were talking about Liverpool's defence because we score 5, the other team will score 4. That's how we played, and he'd always said, if you want to go 2v2v these guys, then all the best. You're just in trouble every time you go up against Sturridge and Suarez. All the best, and I mean, don't forget we had an up and coming Raheem Sterling then as well.
I was just about to say Sterling was part of that trio there. And really,
Coutinho as well.
Unbelievable.
That attack was. Oh, that was
that year was ridiculous. That was a ridiculous attack. We were leaky in defence, and obviously that's what cost us in the end. But I mean, the 3-3 against Palace. I mean, who'll ever forget that bloody one? Never mind the Chelsea game. The 3-3, 3-0 up, 3-0. Oh, nightmare.
Some nightmares. Yeah. So I mean, striker. I'm putting Harry Kane. 37 goal contributions, absolutely ridiculous. But hey, shout out to Patrick Bamford because before the season started, he got so much so much shit from opposing fans.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone thought he was going to be a bum, and he came in and did a great job for Leeds. But I don't think anyone else could be it other than Harry Kane.
No,
Yeah, I think
hands down.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Harry Kane.
I mean,
everybody was giving him shit today. Apparently, he had a terrible game. I need to watch.
Terrible game today.
He looked.
He
looks unfit. He looks injured for me. I think they're just, and I felt for Calvert-Lewin. I think he could have offered something else if he'd have come on. But I mean, as you said about Harry Kane earlier, most goals, most assists this season.
Unbelievable.
Has to go.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, his agent's probably in his ear as well over a move. You wouldn't know what's going on there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at Spurs, or actually not going on at Spurs. That's the problem. And you've got that, and you've got the injury, as you've just said, and actually the weight of England is on his shoulders. Basically, he's the talisman. He's the main man. He will. I mean, England will probably go through. I fancy them. To go through against the Czechs. I think they won't get beaten by Czech Republic, and he'll probably score. But 22 league goals. He obviously beat Mo by 1, but he's been unbelievable. Wherever he goes, looks like it could be City, but I don't know. But he has to be. He's in there straight away. As they say, Kane is able.
I like that.
I like that one a lot.
Good to see you, Mick. Thanks for jumping in, mate. Have the collapse.
That's a biblical term. Go on anyway.
Yeah, it has to be Kane. It's 100% Kane. Him and Son ran Spurs this year, and when they started to slump a little bit, that's when Spurs went down. But it's just Kane. Kane's the striker of the year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we can all agree on that. So right wing. I think we're all going to agree on right wing as well. But Luke, who do you got?
It's not the biased pick. I don't know how. I just don't know how people disrespect Mohamed Salah. I really don't like. I know we're Liverpool fans. We're going to back him all the way. But
crazy shit.
I know sometimes we call him 30 chance Salah on our podcast. It's just like he has to have so many chances. But the records speak for itself. I mean, it's just. I just noticed a mixed comment with a staircase. That's brilliant.
Yeah. Ben Davies is at the end of that staircase. That's the problem. I can see his hand coming up the staircase.
There he is.
Ben Davies, let him out.
Don't let Naby Keita go down. He'll be fall down and injure himself.
Yeah, right. All they do is throw down the new gear to Ben Davies down the stairs. Okay, get out of here.
No, just I as I mentioned, I just think with Mo Salah, 31 goals this year for Liverpool.
Wow.
He just missed out on a golden boot by 1. You could see how frustrated he was in that end of the game, end of the season against Palace. He just really wanted to get a goal, to challenge Kane at the end.
He should have had 1 or 2.
He should, but that's what I mean. It's for me, he scores a lot of the hard shots. I mean, the goal against Newcastle, for me, the turn, the finish, they're goals you look at Salah and you think, wow, like what a player he is. The goals he can score out of anything. But then there are chances where you just look at it and you think, for God's sake. Like, I think Burnley must have had a couple of 1v1s and scuffed it. It's little things like that you get frustrated with. But for people...
Overall, you take the rough with the smooth. I mean, that goal he got against West Ham on the break, the Shaqiri ball. Remember the away 3-1. I think that was one of the best goals of the season. Never mind anything else. That was probably other than maybe Alisson's header. But you know what I mean?
I saw just before I see Liverpool voted for their 5 top goals this year, and Salah got from goals from 5, like 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd.
Yeah.
And goal of the season was Alisson.
Alisson, of course.
Well, he was the only one who scored too, right?
Yeah. But I mean, as Luke said, it has to be Mo Salah. I mean, the amount of stick, as you're saying, what are these idiots? What do they want? You know what I mean? What do they want? They'll only know how good he was when he's gone. And then he'll be going, what have we got here? No matter who you get in, are they going to be as good? Even if you got Mbappe, I'm not being funny here. Are you going to have someone coming in who can get 20 plus, nearly 30 goals every season, consistently? He's never really injured. He's never had a bad injury for start. And, so I don't know what you're wishing for here, guys. I'd love him to sign a long-term contract. I think he's 2 years left on his contract. I'd like him to sign an extension. I know they're looking at it, trying to get him on an extension for another 2 years, which would give him, he's 30 now, I think. It was only his birthday recently. I seen him on a speedboat. He looks well. But you know what I mean? So for me, this guy is the king. And is one of the top, certainly in my lifetime, your lifetime, one of the top Liverpool players.
Oh, yeah.
In the last 30, 40 years, and there's no doubt about it. That's
just
it.
To go to Dave, just to go to Dave's point real quick, and then I'll go to Luke's point. But Kylian Mbappe in the past 4 years at PSG had 27 goals this year. Last year he had 18 goals. Year before, this is just in League One. 18-19 he had 33 goals, and then 17-18 he had 13 goals. So I mean he's a little inconsistent in that sense, but Mo Salah is consistently
different level.
20 plus goals. Yeah, no, and that's in the Premier League.
That's it.
Yeah. But going back to Luke's point about Salah, for me, what I love about Salah is he's a type of player that even if he misses a shot, he'll continue to shoot with confidence. Whereas somebody like Sadio Mane or Roberto Firmino or even some other guys, if they shoot and they miss and they're, maybe their touch is off, it affects them the rest of the game most times. Mo Salah keep going. If he doesn't score a goal, he'll shoot again. He'll shoot it. And sometimes that bothers some people because they think he should pass instead of shoot. But that's what you want in a goal scorer. You want him to just continue to shooting with confidence, and that's what Mo Salah has in spades. He has confidence, and he will continue to shoot, and he'll continue to score. And that's what we saw this year. He carried us to third place.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
I hope he stays too, Dave. I hope he gets an extension because of Willow's point here. Because I would love to see the records that he would break for Liverpool if he got a contract extension, extend him out for 2 years past what he has now, having 4 years left.
That'd be four. Beautiful.
And the stuff that he'd be able to do, and the name that where he'd be in our record books would be cemented.
Yeah.
Liverpool legend, all that stuff. It'd be absolutely.
To be fair, he's already cemented. This would be
for sure.
Cement on top of the foundation. He's already cemented, but this guy can have a legacy. This would be legacy level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
From us legacy fans, you know what I mean? Legacy fans.
Hey, legacy fans, right? Yeah. All right, so to wrap her up, let's go with I want to hear everybody's manager of the season. So, Andrew, why don't you kick us off? Manager of the season. Who you got?
I was thinking, when you guys mentioned you had a bias pick, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to pick Jurgen Klopp. But then I really thought about it throughout this whole show, and I was just like, he doesn't deserve manager of the season. He really doesn't. He got us over the line. We eventually got to third place because he finally put in he finally put in two center backs to play their own positions. He wasn't playing midfielders. He should have learned from Pep Guardiola's mistake the year before when he put Fernandinho as a center back. That's why I said he lost the title, because they had a midfielder playing center back. When you have midfielders playing center back, they don't have the instincts that a defensive-minded center back has. They don't have that natural ability. They think differently. So I just think that he screwed up there. Fabinho obviously was very, very missed in the midfield. Thiago was forced to play all these different positions. Gini Wijnaldum played too many games. Andy Robertson played too many games. There was a lot of issues. So I don't think he deserves manager of the year. I wanted to give him the bias vote, but he just doesn't get it. So for me, I think if we're just – you want to give it to Tuchel because Tuchel won the Champions League, but if we're just thinking about the Premier League, then I think you have to give it to David Moyes. I thought West Ham they were consistent this year. When I saw them at the top of the table in the first half of the season, I was like, oh, they'll eventually drop off, just like all the teams do eventually. But they stuck it in there, and obviously they got some great signings. They have some great players. It really depended on if Mikel Antonio was fit or not for me, if they were going to win the game or not. But they have a great team, and if they do things right this summer after the Euros, then they could be another formidable opponent next year. So I would give it to Moyes, especially after the disrespect he got at Manchester United. He
deserved that.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't given any time, whereas Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been given 3 years now, and
he's done the exact same thing as Mourinho this year, didn't he? Europa League final, finished second, but then they sacked Mourinho, but they've kept Ole. Yep. Ole's at the wheel.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. I'm fine as a Liverpool fan, totally fine with that.
Yeah, great. Give him a 20-year contract. Go.
Yeah. You got Luke.
Do you know what? David Moyes, I did think of like throughout this season. I think he's been exceptional for West Ham, and to get a team that just avoided relegation last year to Europa League spot, the credit he deserves is just exceptional. He just misses it for me, and I think the only reason I just think like I think the way he sort of went about, it might sound a bit weird, but when they were in that position, I just felt that, with 5 to 10 games to go, I think he bottled it a little bit. I think West Ham could have maybe got into that top 4. I do think that he crumbled a little bit under the pressure. I think he got some good results, there's big games. I mean, they played Chelsea, they played Spurs, like they got some good results, and they played against the smaller sides, and obviously they just sort of fell a little bit. But this is going to sound really, really bizarre, but there's a couple of other mentions. I think Rodgers has had a good year at Leicester. Again, another one just bottled it at the end. I think Dean Smith's done well at Villa, but I'm going to go with Bielsa at Leeds. I think, they've become... I think what he's done for me, I think there's been a lot of praise about Bielsa, about, how great he is as a coach. We've seen how good Calvin Phillips is at Leeds. We've seen how good Bamford's been this year. For me, he's turned Leeds into a side where you want to avoid them at all costs. They're one of those teams where they had a good finish. They won the title last year in the Championship. They finished 9th this year. I mean, what a season he's had there at Leeds. And next season, they look like they could be getting even better. And as I mentioned before, I just think that this season he's proved that, first game of the season when we played them, I was so nervous that game. We just about edged it 4-3, didn't we? And yeah, I just feel that he's got that about Leeds this year. He's turned them into the old style Leeds United. You don't want to play against them. They're going to be a tough physical outlet, and I think Bielsa is an exceptional manager, and I think he just, for me, over the course of the season, gets it.
Yeah.
Maybe. They were a scary team. Like they really were. Like everyone after we played them first match of the season, everyone thought like we did not play well in that match, and all of a sudden by the end of the year, it's like okay, that result kind of makes sense because of how good Leeds were. And like there were times maybe they were gassed at some points in the season. They put themselves in some bad positions, but they're building something there. If they can keep some of those big names, they're definitely building something good there. Dave, what do you got?
I'm actually going to be controversial on this one.
Love it.
Controversial to finish. Yeah. Obviously, the top 6 managers, the likes of David Moyes and Tuchel, Jurgen Klopp, even obviously Guardiola for almost done the domestic double, if you want to call it domestic double. Could have won the Champions League, had an unbelievable season. But to be fair, they're up there. The money behind them, the backing behind them, the players they have, the quality, sort of expected in a way. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the other end of the table. I'm gonna go for Sean Dyche, Burnley.
That's an interesting shout.
And I'll tell. Do you know what? Do you know what it is? Look at Sean Dyche. Yeah, but I'll tell you why. How the hell is he keeping Burnley? How is he keeping Burnley in the Premier League every bloody year? We should be relegated every year.
We call him the Brexit manager.
Huh?
We call him the Brexit manager.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I mean, the money's on. The team is average, They didn't even have fans this year, and usually Burnley's a hard place to go to when they fans, Turf Moor. And I love his voice, you know what I mean? It's a great team and stuff like that. So for me, you go to the other end of the table, the low level that does it week in, week out. It's like Sunday football for them. The really tough stuff. And for me, the likes of that team, even the Brighton manager, teams like that, keeping the bloody up against the top Klopp, up against the top boys, I think they deserve something. I'm going to give it to Dyche.
Yeah, I don't know how the hell they haven't gotten relegated yet. It's crazy with how little they spend, how little they bring in.
There you go.
They still stay up. I like the rationale behind it. But for me, I'm actually going to give it to Dean Smith because you think about, and for me, it was either Dean Smith or Moyes because you look at both of those teams last year, both of them nearly got relegated, and then this year they're both clearly top of the table pushing for European spots. I mean, I would have taken either one of those guys, but I just think, for me, Aston Villa was just a complete surprise. I think they nailed the Martinez move. Ross Barkley was huge for them to start the season. Obviously, Grealish. I would have loved to see where they would have finished if Grealish didn't get hurt because they were flying. So I think Dean Smith, for me, he deserves a shout. It's going to be interesting to see how they finish next year because I don't know if they'll be able to do it again.
They need to hold on to their players, and so do West Ham.
Yeah,
that's what they need to do. That's their biggest worry. It's not who we add; it's who we lose. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
But I like all of our teams. That was a lot of fun. But to close out, I just have one trivia question today. So my question for everybody is: if you had to have one actor play you in a movie about you, who would you want it to be and why?
I'll say that one straight away.
Go ahead.
Jim Carrey. Because he's a fucking lunatic like me, that's why.
Oh, man.
Oh, big time, Jim Carrey. Holy shit. Big time. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I would have to go either Leo or Bradley Cooper. You know, I mean, this face, this face, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Yeah. Either one.
All righty then.
I don't know. Should I go? Should I go like action for it? I don't know.
Whose beeping is that?
Yeah.
That's Ben Davies. It's supper time.
Can I say Ben Davis?
There you go.
I mean Ben Davis done the cooking advert, didn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know. Can I? I'm trying to think. I don't know. Tom Cruise.
Here we go. No, Tommy Cruise.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mission Impossible.
Sophie's changing all the times on our stuff, so it's making me beep.
Oh,
What?
Sophie.
There we go. All right, so for me, I have two options. If it's all the action-y parts of my life, I want it to be Charlie Hunnam. And if it's the comedy part of my life, which is the most of it, be Ryan Reynolds.
Ooh, nice.
Co-owner of Wrexham as well.
What's that?
Co-owner of Wrexham.
Yeah.
All right, so I have
the owner of Wrexham, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a piece of trivia as well before we leave. If you could have one imported beer, what would it be? So not a domestic beer for you guys. It has to be imported.
Dave's the expert on this one.
Well, I used to always say if I went to Ontario, I would drink Canada dry.
I love it.
But,
beer though, not fucking ginger ale.
I know. I'm only joking. Beer. I used to love the Australian beer, Foster's. They used to sell it over here. I haven't really seen it. You know Foster's Lager?
Yeah, I haven't
seen
it.
It's very strong. It's very strong. G'day, mate.
G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. You are what we do, mate. You're drinking it like that. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, it's nice. Foster's, yeah.
I would probably go with Amstel. Amstel Light.
Oh, yeah.
That's all we have over here is Amstel Light. I've never tried
beer, isn't it?
Dutch, yeah. Yeah, Amsterdam. That'd be my choice. Luke, what would you choose?
I like Cobra.
Yeah, that's nice.
Cobra?
Yeah. Indian, isn't it? Indian beer or something. Rice beer, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, if you have an Indian and then you have a Cobra.
It's a bit like Tiger beer. Tiger beer is nice.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Or Modelo. Modelo is good too.
I tasted armadillo. Tiger, Cobra, armadillo. Where do you buy them at the zoo?
Yeah, I was going to say Modelo myself. Modelo would be my choice, but I will say the Liverpool bar that Andrew and I go to, anytime there's a Liverpool game on, we're there. My go-to is a Carlsberg. Got to do it. Best sponsor we've had.
Probably.
We always get Carlsberg. Yeah.
And what's the bar you go to in Liverpool?
So it's in Boston. It's just a Liverpool, like the Boston
bar,
like Liverpool supporters bar. It's called the Phoenix Landing.
Very good. I thought it'd be an Irish bar, to be honest, in Boston. That's what I would have thought now.
So all the Irish bars actually are like Tottenham bars or Chelsea bars downtown. We're like just outside the city. I love it though. The atmosphere is amazing. So there's always a line every morning to get in for Liverpool games. It's amazing. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
And it's at like 7 a.m. Like we get up at like 6:30 and then go and start drinking at 7.
Do you know what would be really good when this COVID craziness is over? If all the podcaster guys, the likes of Doug, Jack, you guys, everyone, Sophie, Zane, everyone that intermingles, all met up in Liverpool.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be good? That'd be a session.
Here's the thing: Stephen and I we're gonna plan, if we can, plan a trip to Anfield and to Liverpool this season if the borders are open. And we'll link up with all you guys for sure.
Oh yeah, well, give us a bit of a heads up. Like, don't just say we're going next weekend.
No,
you know what I mean?
24-hour notice. That's it, Dave. 24-hour notice.
It won't be next week. It'll be 2 weeks.
Yeah. You'll be doing your Tom Cruise Mission Impossible. It'll be like that.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
This was a bunch of fun. This is a bunch of fun. I love this. This was an awesome episode. Dave, Luke, thank you for joining. And everyone in the chat, we appreciate you guys. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe here. Go check out Dave LFC's chats. Go check out 1892 podcast. If you like this, you'll love them. It's absolutely phenomenal. Great stuff, guys. Definitely want to have you guys on again. Got a lot of shows coming this summer. I love the collabs with you guys as always. It's always a bunch of fun.
Cheers.
In the chat, appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week. Transfer episode as well as funniest transfer rumors linked to Liverpool. Gonna be a lot of good stuff. Willow, thanks for joining. Chris Welch, thanks for joining. Love you guys. Up the Reds. We'll talk to you guys later.
Stay safe.